What is up, guys? Dirk here. In this video, what we are going to do is we're going to look at the potential scenario of another major shakeout or sell-off in the month of September, which is next month, given the fact that historically September is one of those shakeout months, plus a few other factors and reasoning that could be leading up to another major sell-off next month, which would obviously be helpful to know if that is going to happen. We're also going to look at another scenario is if we don't get that shakeout or that major sell-off and we instead get a continuation. What are the chances of either scenario? Let's go and look at the data so that we can try and make the best guess possible. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. Click the notification bell to make sure that you do get future updates. And if you want to get on my email list so I can notify you every time when I upload a new video, click the first link in the description down below and you will be able to enter your name and email and get on my email list that way. Okay, so this video is probably going to be a bit of a longer one because I do want to try and present all the facts and data as accurately and as best as possible so that we can combine all of that and that you can use this information to help make a decision and obviously help make your own decisions for your own investment strategies. So this is a monthly chart of Bitcoin. We are currently at 24,400. We almost hit $25,000. And as you can see, I posted this on July 5th on my Twitter. If you're not following my Twitter yet, the link is in the description down below. So I posted this saying there's basically a fair value gap. It lines up with the golden pocket Fibonacci retracement around 26.7 to 27.4. It wouldn't be impossible as a rally there the coming weeks and then another drop back down somewhere in September for a major shakeout and then a big rally in Q4. Okay, that is what I posted in July as a rough scenario. At that point in time, Bitcoin was trading at around $20,000. So at this point, we're at the middle of August, so quite a few weeks later, 6 weeks later, and we almost touched $25,000 for Bitcoin. So basically that scenario has followed and played out pretty accurately. Now there are potentially another 2 to 4 weeks left for my initial idea of that rally up to 27k. Maybe it goes a little bit higher to 30k. Okay, so that scenario is still in play. Now what I want to look at is why September. Why could that be another major shakeout? Well, if we look at the data historically, September is basically just a shakeout month. It is a red month. If we go to the Bitcoin monthly returns, you can see over here September historically going back all the way to 2013 is basically red, and even in the 2 months where it was green, it was 2% and 6%. So basically very small green month, but for the rest it has been red. You can see I've also marked this on the chart over here with the arrows. This month over here, red month, was September. Red month, September, red month, September, red month, September, red month, September. But you will also notice that these were relatively small months, so they were not major red down months. So obviously we're in August now. September is coming up next month, and as you probably know, just because something has been red many months in a row or it has a tendency to be red doesn't guarantee that it is going to be red, right? So every time, it could be different. This September may end up being a green month, but the data tends to favor it being red. And since we have seen a bounce already in July and now in August, that may be leading us up for or setting us up for a correction in September. We also have the Ethereum merge that is happening and that's set to happen on the 15th or the 16th of September, which could potentially be a big event. It also could be delayed. There could be things that go wrong. So maybe the merge could be a catalyst for the sell-off where, we've seen this rally over the last 2 months leading up to the merge, and it could be a buy the rumor, kind of sell the news event where, everyone is buying in anticipation of the merge. But since Ethereum has run up 2x already, maybe it runs up 2.5 or 3x by the time of the merge, maybe at that point, everyone ends up selling off. And another reason to add some confluence to that idea of Ethereum merge being a buy the rumor, sell the event type of thing is this chart over here with total ETH options open interest. And what you can see over here, right? So this is basically the amount of leverage betting that is taking place on the Ethereum price. You can see over here, that was at peaks in May of 2021 and of November 2021. And we are currently at those same levels. And as you know, May and November of 2021 were the peaks before major sell-offs in the crypto market. So again, it's not a guaranteed thing, but you have to put all these pieces of information together and look at the probabilities of if so many different data points and different things are pointing towards a certain option, then the chance is pretty high that it's going to turn out in a certain way. Now, another piece of confluence that we have for September being a potential sell-off is the fact that we are in a midterm election year for the US. The elections are set to take place in November, and looking at the historic average performance of the stock market according to this data right from the Capital Group, it's saying in midterm election years, we tend to have a sell-off starting at the end of August or early September, all the way down into September and bottoming somewhere there. So again, this is showing that on average, it's not a guaranteed thing. This year could be different. That's why it's called an average, right? Sometimes it deviates above or below the average. But this chart is indicating, and this data is indicating that on average, there is potential for a sell-off in September. So we basically have historic Bitcoin returns going back 9 years that show, September is generally a red month. We have that stock market data. We have the Ethereum open interest. So all of this is kind of leading towards, I think, a higher chance that we are going to have some sort of shakeout or sell-off in September next month. The question is going to be, how much further do we continue going up this month? And how deep will that correction be, right? Do we stop here, 25,000? Do we go to 27 or 30 or maybe even maximum 32,000 in the next, say, 4 weeks before we end up selling off? And if we do that, are we going to see a small sell-off where it's 10 or 20%? Or are we going to see a much larger sell-off that could potentially be a 50% sell-off in the same way as the March 2020 sell-off was almost a 50% sell-off in Bitcoin in the space of 4 weeks and completely recovered? We don't know what kind of catalysts there are going to be. There are a number of them that are potentially out there. I mean, the Ethereum merge is one of them, but there could be all sorts of geopolitical events. Who knows what could happen that could cause a major sell-off. We are still in a phase where, some event or some piece of news or some piece of important information could really trigger another massive sell-off, but it might just be a flash crash like in March 2020 where it goes down a lot but recovers very quickly and then continues going a lot higher. So now what I want to show you are some various charts and data that also lean towards potentially us being at a low of the sell-off, and whether we get a sell-off in September or not could potentially signal that for the next 6 to 12 months, the overall stock market could go a lot higher, meaning that crypto is likely to follow suit, because if the stock market is going to go a lot higher, then the crypto market is likely to follow, because Bitcoin is very correlated to the stock market. Altcoins follow Bitcoin, so that would be a scenario here. So let me walk you through this. Okay, so more than 75% of stocks recovered above their 50-day moving average from a less than 5% reading. The last two breath thrusts coincided with the kickoff of sustained rallies within a 6 to 12 month time frame, and you can see over here linking where this has happened in the past led to major rallies. You can also see this where it says the futures market is poised for max pain. Small speculators still hold more net short positions than they did at the height of the panic, right? So you can see again it marked over here. Then we move on. When the percentage of stocks with an overbought above 80% stochastic oscillator surges to 71%, there is no looking back for the SPX in the coming 6 to 12 months. And again, you can see the red dots marked massive rallies when this has occurred previously. The options market is indicating that the S&P 500 bottom is in. With a negative reading, investors will now have to buy the stocks to hedge their option positions on further S&P 500 declines. It doesn't get better than this. And again, we are looking at this data that shows previously, look what happened after those readings, massive upside in the months that followed. We also have the NASDAQ put-call ratio, which is set up for max pain. Majority investors are leaning extremely bearish, but markets often do what is least expected. And again, you can see marked on the charts what happens afterwards. We get major upside. Now, that doesn't mean we can't get an initial sell-off or a flash crash or something shakeout in September 1st, but overall, this means that likely for the months that follow, maybe the next 6 to 12 months that follow, we could be seeing major upside. We also have this, the deepest 10-2-year yield curve inversion since 2000, a few more basis points lower, and it'll be the deepest inversion since 1981. Now, without getting too technical, basically just think what happened after 2000, right? Think what happened after 2008. We got a major rally. We got a major rally after the 2001 bear market. So that obviously is open to where exactly are we? Have we completed most of the correction already that started in November 21? And do we go on a massive rally for the next year or multiple years? Or do we still have another leg down to come that after that we will end up having another major rally? Then we also have this consumer sentiment chart at an all-time low, lower than 1980, suggesting that this is the best possible moment to buy stocks of the past 40 years. It looks like Wyckoff accumulation. Again, just all these different charts and metrics to look at to see how they are at extremes. And we look basically previously at the data, what happened at those extremes. And then it gives us a higher chance, not a guarantee, but a higher chance that, we're going to follow the same path, which has happened in the past, which means, in this case, with everything that I've shown you, upside for the stock markets, which means if the stock markets go up, Bitcoin is likely to go up, which means altcoins are likely to go up too. We also have this, where in May of this year, Warren Buffett spent $51 billion to go and buy stocks. Now, would he or his company, would they be doing this if they thought we were going to get a lot more downside? Would they be doing this if they thought we were in for another year of bear market in the stock markets or another 50% decline? Probably not, right? Okay, we don't know really what is true just based on this article. But taking this at face value, if they did indeed buy $51 billion worth of stocks in May, remember it bottomed roughly about in June, then, could that not potentially be a sign that they kind of knew what was coming? They were looking at the data and the charts and they were saying, hey, we're getting pretty close to a bottom. We're going to deploy this capital now. And even if that means, we don't get the exact bottom, what happens if we start going up in Q4 or in 2023 and just go a lot higher? So again, we're just looking at all these different data points, putting that together and being like, well, what are the odds? What are the probabilities that this is going to continue a lot lower and continue an extended bear market? Or what are the probabilities that we have actually bottomed or potentially get another shakeout and retest in September, but then go up and we are very close to a bottom, right? Those are the options we have to weigh out. So in my opinion, looking at this data, I think it is possible that we do see a shakeout in September. Now the question is going to be, like I've already said before, how high are we going to go before we get that shakeout? And obviously we'll have to take that on a weekly and a daily basis as the price continues to develop. Obviously I don't know that multiple weeks in advance, but I will continue to update on Twitter and I'll make a couple of YouTube videos. And obviously in the private VIP members Discord, I'll be updating there every day. So if you're not yet a member and you want to get access to those updates and that information, click the second link in the description down below. You'll be able to sign up, become a member. It's risk-free for 60 days. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee. So, come and sign up, join us in the VIP area. But basically, we keep an eye on that for the next 2 to 4 weeks, see how the price develops, how high it goes, and then we'll have to wait and see, does that look as if we're going to get a sell-off, right? Do we see those potential reversal signs within the market on a daily, 4-hourly time frame, and so on and so forth? And then, how deep is it going to go? Is it going to be a shallow correction, right? A small September downside month of 10 or 20%, maybe at most, or are we going to get another massive shakeout? And are we going to retest those $17,000 lows for Bitcoin, or maybe even go to $14,000? As you can see here, this is the weekly chart, and the $14,000 level specifically is the peak of the 2019 rally that we had over here also. And we might have, if we get some sort of crazy news event or some sort of black swan, whatever you want to call it, we get a repeat of March 2020, it is possible that we get, within a month, a major sell-off into 14,000, a complete recovery back up, and then starting the next leg of a bull market. And then we have another potential scenario I want to just share with you real quick before we wrap up this video, which is the concept of double tops do not end macro trends. And I actually made a video about this back in December last year. I will link to it down below so you can have a watch of that. But basically, this double top scenario, when you see it, it doesn't matter on different time frames, it tends to not be a complete top of the market. So if we are in this macro bull trend for Bitcoin, which we have been since inception, right? We've been creating higher highs and lower highs, right? Even though there's giant fluctuations, it is still a macro bull market. So even though it does take time to play out, if this is a double top scenario, it does not end the trend and we end up going way higher than that. And the best comparison I can give you, very easy here, you can go look this up yourself, is the S&P 500. Don't worry about the time frame. Obviously, this took place over years and even decades, but the pattern is the same. It happens on different time frames, so that's the fractal of it. The double top does not end the macro trend. You can see the macro trend in the SPX is bullish, right? So we had this massive double top, which at this point is still very, very similar to how Bitcoin looks, okay? We had the $66,000 top. We had the sell-off that bottomed in mid 2021. Then we had a slightly higher high, same as this. We went to $69,000 on Bitcoin. Then we had another sell-off that went below the June 2021 lows, right? So that was, I think 28,000. We obviously went to 17,000. So far, we have had this exact slightly higher high, the sell-off, lower low, the sweep of the lows. And what we could end up seeing is another major continuation of the macro bullish trend in Bitcoin that ends up taking us to, you know, six figures, over 100,000, 200,000, maybe eventually even that 300,000 or 400,000. And obviously that's not going to happen in the next few months. That might take a few years to play out. But if this pattern ends up repeating, that's going to be interesting to watch and keep an eye on, because you can see over here what also happened is we had the initial capitulation, we had a bit of a bounce, we had a lower low, and then we just started going up, obviously with corrections along the way, but that is basically how it ended up playing out. So maybe September is going to give us our lower low with a bullish divergence, right? So we go below 17,000, maybe we go to 14,000, but the RSI doesn't confirm it. We get a bullish divergence, and after that, we end up going to the all-time high and beyond. Obviously, I don't know how long that's going to take. Probably going to take longer than months. Maybe it takes a year or 2 or 3 years, but that could be another potential scenario to follow. So if you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you smash the like button, maybe share it on your social media, send it to some friends and family who could benefit from this. Of course, subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and be sure to get on my email list if you haven't done that. First link in the description down below. That way I can just send you an email every time I upload a video or I have an important update to share or anything like that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.